Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are Keegan Christopher and Katie Colletta from, well, I was going to say Young Footlighters, but the organization has expanded, and we're going to dive into that. So, but first off, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Always good to see you.
Nice to have you both here. And you have been working with the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts for some time, with the Young Footlighters, although I guess you've had other homes besides the Coralville Center for this, now that I think about it, because you ran a program here on the Kirkwood campus and some other places. But theater, with, for young people to produce and be in the show. But now the Young Footlighters have become... well, not exactly the old Footlighters.
Footlighters are expanding. We're taking over the world. Yes, so we're now augmenting our main stage programming where kids perform in shows for kids. And we're augmenting that with a new program called Footlighters Imagination Studio, which puts shows that are geared for children to watch as audience members on stage. So that means they are tailored in style and content and language for young audiences, so that they can enjoy those opportunities.
And for those who are watching the video, you already know what the title of the show is. But for those just listening on the radio or the podcast, Keegan, what is the first production of the Imagination Studio?
Yeah, so we're kicking everything off with Charlotte's Web. I couldn't think of a more fitting title to bring to the community than that one as its first story. It's timeless, E.B. White's classic tale that teaches us about friendship and loyalty and standing up for the things that you believe in and love. And some enduring lessons that certainly have stuck with me over my childhood and so many people. And so getting to watch professional actors bring this story to life intended for kids to experience and get to go home with their parents and ask questions and continue the conversation on top of the crafts that they get to participate outside in and going to see a barnyard experience on Saturday, so that they get a full-fledged engagement around this story. We just couldn't think of a better way to kick this new program off.
You are absolutely right about this being a story that sticks with you, because as soon as, and there've been, I've seen productions over the years, but when I got the notification of this and it was Charlotte's Web, and I went, oh yeah, and all of a sudden I was in third grade again, listening to the teacher read this book to us, and not only was it a great story, but it's it's also in a lot of ways, there are aspects of it that are really sad, and that's one of the things that you get taught as you appreciate this story is, it's the circle of life, and how, sometimes you don't have a completely happy ending, but there is always happiness in that as it comes about.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. I mean, in directing the show, I watch these rehearsals come together, and first off, we get to the end of the show and we're all weepy messes, but we've laughed our way through the story together. And while it is true, everything I said about the story, the other thing that I've come to love in it in this iteration is watching this coming of age story for each and every one of the characters as they age and learn new things about each other and want to be there to support each other. And I can't think of a more important thing that we need in our world right now than this identity of coming together for something we believe in and care about.
And what you said, as the director and as a cast, have you all had that same experience of kind of reappreciating life and friendship and the story as you brought this together?
Yeah. So you said you were in third grade when you encountered it. I think I was around the same age when I encountered it for the first time. And we've spoken as a cast multiple times that just the story hits us differently as we are in different stages of life. I have never cared for Templeton as a character before, and this time, Templeton has a line at the end of the story about, you're always asking for one more favor. This is the last one until the next one, but he helps anyway. And this idea of helping one another and being there to support each other, even if we don't agree on all the things, we can still be there for each other as a community.
Now, this, as you said, this is the first production by adults for kids,
yes,
as a part of this series. And I I think about that, and I go, of course, we do there's a lot of children's theater around, and organizations that have kids put on plays so that we can bring them into contact with the art and find out, what part of this, they really enjoy. Do they want to be on stage? Do they want to do the lights? Do they want to do costumes? All the stuff that goes into, do they want to be in the pit band?
Yep.
All of this. But there's also something important for all of us in learning how to be a good audience member, because most of us, frankly, we're probably going to spend more time in the audience than we are on stage.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance too. That so, for example, Young Footlighters, we just wrapped up our production of My Son Pinocchio last week. So all 45 kids that were in that production can now come see another story this week, if they so choose. There are studies about how seeing live theater really impacts all people, but children specifically, and that if kids see a show live on stage by the time they're 8 years old, they are much more likely to be able to practice empathy and perspective taking, and they are more likely to see theater as a place for them, a place where they belong. So having the opportunity to come into the CCPA and experience a story that is for children can be just as impactful as being on the other side of the footlights.
Keegan, you said that that you're very familiar with the story, of course. Coming into it as a director, had you directed this show before?
Not this one.
Okay.
Not this one before.
And how did that kind of expand your appreciation and how the story hits you as you're helping the cast bring it to life?
Yeah, so the last time I worked on this piece, I stage managed it and I costume designed it. And it was a different version of the story. So there's that to play. I really love that this version is very much based off of the text of the books. It uses a lot of E.B. White's original quotes, which are really lovely and timely. But I think the biggest takeaway I have compared to the last time I did it to this time directing it is a much deeper love for each of the individual characters and why they're so central to Wilbur's journey and growing up. The parallels of Wilbur and Fern going on a very similar journey, both in terms of like developmental age, but then also Charlotte entering the story at a completely different point in her journey, but also learning and growing from each person and being there for each other. I think there's a lot of value to be had that age is just literally a number, right? We all are at a place and time and we are in that place together for a reason. So it's an opportunity to learn from each other.
Without getting too deep into spoiler territory,
yes.
Although, spoilers for a 70-year-old story. But in staging, most of the characters are animals. Uh-huh. So talk to me about set design and costuming and how, and how you're bringing that off.
Yeah. So this version has 6 characters, six performers, which means a lot of people are playing a lot of different roles. So Keegan, you did the costume design for this time around as well. Do you want to chat a little bit about that part?
Yeah. One of the things I love about theater for young audiences is that kids are so creative, right? So when you give them a suggestion of the world, their imaginations start to take it and go whole hog into what is possible and where they're physically placed at. So some of it is it's not meant to do a whole face paint to make Wilbur look like a pig. That's not the goal at all. Rather, to give him a couple of pieces that are going to tie him into that world and then allow the kids to go, okay, bought it. That's Wilbur the pig here. Now we can move on and focus on the story and the lessons that we're learning through it.
And it's certainly easier when you're not trying to act in full body mask and makeup.
Yes, certainly.
Katie, what parts do you play?
I guess I'd have 2 actually. I play Fern, and then spectator number 1, who comes and checks out Wilbur and the other pigs at the fair.
Who rounds out the rest of the cast?
Let's see. It's Shelby Myers is playing Charlotte. Kent Reynolds is playing Wilbur. Jacob Kilberg plays the sheep and a whole host of other characters. Jim Voight plays Templeton and others, and Lucy Polyak, who's also just fantastic, plays the goose. Actually, you should come see the show just for the goose.
Just for the goose. Okay,
yeah.
just for the goose. There you go. Just for the goose.
And then others, of course. And for families who have had their kids in any of our Young Footlighters education programs, the majority of the cast are teaching artists and directors that have worked with the kids in other facets. So I think kids that have seen them in that capacity will enjoy seeing them on stage as well.
That's another fun aspect of this, because it's, having been teachers, both of you, in this and many other roles, and then there is something special when a child gets to see their teacher doing the thing.
Yeah.
Not just telling them how to do the thing, but actually doing it themselves. It's a little bit like meeting your teacher at the grocery store, and it's like, oh, you have a life outside of what I know you as doing.
And it works both ways, because I get that feeling when I see the kids that I teach on stage doing the thing. It's like, yes, you're applying the things and, just really going for it. But yeah, hopefully they feel that in reverse too.
I learned so much from watching it on both sides. But this group of actors, they're so full and ready to play every time they come into the room. And for this style of theater, I think that's so important. Mo Willems, who's the author of Elephant and Piggy and Pigeon Rides a Bus, has a pretty famous quote about a play is called a play for a reason. We get to come
It's a play. It's not a work.
Right?
It's a play.
We learn so many soft and hard skills from it with theater and the arts, but it is also just about play and imagination and growing together. And I'm really proud of the work this cast has done. So you got to come see them. You got to see the story.
Charlotte's Web, the first production in the Footlighters Imagination Studio. Did I get that right?
Yes.
You did.
Okay. And just one weekend, though.
Yes, just one weekend.
The 25th, 26th, 27th. So we got a Friday night show, 2 shows on Saturday. So 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And in between that is that barnyard adventure in the Coralville.
So petting zoo.
Free petting zoo.
Fun.
Come pet the pigs and the chickens and the cow and all that in the parking lot if you wish.
Is there a spider in the petting zoo? That's my question.
Perhaps not on purpose, but I'm sure there will be.
How do we get tickets?
Go to CoralvilleArts.org. They're available for sale right now.
All right, CoralvilleArts.org, the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts. And is there a place on the web where people can find out more about this play and the organization and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Same general website, but if you click onto Young Footlighters or Footlighters Imagination Studio, you'll find all kinds of other information.
All at CoralvilleArts.org.
Yep, all under that same umbrella.
Well, have fun in the barnyard.
Thank you. We shall.
Nice to have you here. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
It's great having you.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.